Hey everybody, this is gonna be a kind of long just me talking video because I'm doing a just me talking video because there's a lot of shit going on and just, not enough time. Uh, my thoughts on the new Mac Pro are still coming. Like I said, it's hard for me to make that video because, well, it's going to be just real difficult for me to get around to that video. But anyways, on with the other things I wanted to talk about. First of all, the guy who's making Internal Nights, which was supposed to be the spiritual successor of Internal Darkness, well, that game has gotten a minor and somewhat possibly permanent setback. The As we all know, and most of you know, that the guy who was part of Silicon Knights, who are now with Precursor Games, was found with some possible fraud problems when he was running Silicon Knights, and which is possibly true, especially with the certain other disasters like his failed lawsuit against Epic Games and all this other shit, and he has to pay large amounts of money. Well, his life just got a lot more harder. The guy who's running Precursor Games, not the guy who is involved with Silicon Knights and all that, but the other guy who's running Silicon or Precursor Games, got arrested for child pornography, which means that the guy who is responsible, and I don't know these people's names, but the guy responsible for the whole, Silicon Nightmare shit scenario, yeah, he's in complete shit now. He's completely screwed. His new boss now just got arrested for child pornography, so. And on top of that, he's got a shitload of financial disasters. And of course, the ever so famous rumor of him going to Nintendo and saying, "Oh, I'll make Eternal Nights if you will pay me $1 million." And of course, Nintendo said, "Fuck you," and we're not, because he wanted them to pay, Epic Games their bill because that was how much he lost from Epic Games, and Cliffy B, and it's just gone to complete and utter shit. Basically, those two guys are never going to work in the gaming industry ever again. They're gone, and that in any hopes of a spiritual successor or even a sequel to Internal Darkness is never going to happen. It's dead, dead on sight. Right when that guy got arrested for child pornography, gone. And speaking of matter of idiotic discussions, we all know that Titanfall is coming out on the Xbox exclusively, or console exclusive in a way. And I mean Xbox because there'd be no particular Xbox between the 360 and Xbox One. It was coming, well, originally it was going to be exclusive to the Xbox One, and then they found it was going to go onto the PC as well, which really wouldn't hurt the Xbox One's chances. But what does hurt the Titanfall and maybe even the Xbox One itself was that when Titanfall was said, "Hey, we're coming out with the 360 version," and unfortunately, the 360, as of right now, has the larger install base and the more, stable internet right now. Nobody knows anything about Xbox One, so guess what most people are going to go for? They're going to go straight for the Xbox One. The Xbox 360 version. And with the Xbox One sales not doing so well, that is not a good thing. Oh yeah, and that Halo game that they mentioned is not going to be Halo 5. Yeah, it was, I think, confirmed that it wasn't going to be the fifth Halo game. They have no idea what the fuck. So, what the hell is the next Halo game going to be? I don't even know what Microsoft's. I don't even play Microsoft games or even have an Xbox, but even I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But Respawn Entertainment, the guys, and along with the EA, are looking at the PS4 version now of Titanfall. Apparently, yeah, the PS version 4 version is doing much more better in the pre-orders. But that's just my open opinion. That's how I feel. I feel that the 360 version is going to cut into that Xbox One version of Titanfall. And it's mainly first impressions here you got to give to the audience. And Microsoft's first impressions have not been doing so well. And, with Don Murdoch, if you haven't seen my last comedy bit video, basically left, and Crazy Steve Ballmer has temporarily taken over the Xbox division, and Steve Ballmer's actually taken up pretty much all of Microsoft at this point. But then again, nobody can fire Steve Ballmer because he's pretty much next in line to to Bill Gates. Basically, you know, when Bill Gates was running Microsoft, pretty much he could do whatever he wants because he was a creator. The guy made the business, and nobody could fire his ass no matter what. And the same goes with Steve Ballmer. Nobody could fire his ass neither. But anyways, that's not important. But yeah, Ballmer's taken over. No shocking surprise. And it's only temporary. And between Oath, Dawn, yeah, and the Oath guy was that one guy who said deal with it, by the way, on his Twitter. But between Oath, whatever his last name was, Don Murdoch, and Major Nelson, and along with Balmer, I've got one hella hefty collection of just Microsoft employees saying and acting and doing the weirdest fucking shit I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, with this whole class clowns of groups of people, and in the video evidence, along with the tweet evidence, and just them in general, just saying stupid shit that will be contradicted. I mean, like I did with the last video on Major Nelson. He says basically two different things. He says, we'll let you keep your games, and then there's a tweet that contradicts exactly what he says. And then he says that, oh, we can't easily take. He's telling Angry Joe, oh, we can't turn off these DRMs. It's hardwired into the system. And what happens? Not long after he says that, bam, DRMs are now killed in the Xbox One. So it looks like, Angry Joe was right. It was all just software, and they could just get rid of it easily. So it wasn't much of a fucking problem. And of course, you've got the various amounts of Steve Ballmer. That guy always makes an ass out of himself. I mean, that's just a pick and choose library. And I'm not kidding. I could take up an entire YouTube video of just Steve Ballmer and half the shit he said. Either, that was either written down in an article or, basically just sit in video. The ones in video are the funniest, though. Except for that one that was in that one article that happened before the internet exploded. You'll never see it. It's pretty much impossible to find, but he basically said that gaming consoles are a niche market and it was a mistake for Microsoft to go after them. But yeah, that article is pretty much gone in the wind. It's pretty much like most articles that happened before the internet, expanded the way it did. Especially if it was in the 80s where when I read that article. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. And I'm not saying you can't find articles that were printed in the 80s or maybe even the 70s, which, were mainly just scanned in and put onto the computer somehow. It's just that most of these articles are just gone in the wind, and there's a good chance that a large number of them are just never going to come back. And there's literally no way. And I'm not just talking about 80s and the 70s and somewhat of the 90s. Also, you know, going all the way back to the 40s, the 30s, and all that other shit. Like I said, not all of them would be lost or, would be scanned into computers, but a good number of them would be just unattainable. Or just no way of making it on the internet at all, if ever. If you're even remotely lucky. Oh, and if any of you are going to leave stupid comments saying that Microsoft wasn't in the console business back then and wasn't making games until, the Xbox, you're a fucking idiot. First of all, Microsoft was making games all the way back in the early 80s. They were just making them, well, mostly for their Windows operating system, even though they did kind of made some for the Mac OS 10 kind of other operating systems, but the majority of them went to their own fucking systems. But they were publishing games back then. Microsoft Games has been around for a long time. Microsoft Games didn't come into existence when the Xbox. No, I can't say Xbox One, but the original Xbox, was in existence. So, yeah, they've been in this business for a while. Uh, Apple has never even published a game in their entire life, but yet their handheld is is considered by all developers and have most of the games out there for it. Even though Apple has no published games of their own or any kind of Apple games or anything. That's kind of funny. So yeah, guy arrested for child pornography and screws another developer who pretty much already screwed himself over big time. Many other things in the news. That's pretty much it.